What if the crucifixion was more than a solitary sacrifice? What if the darkness that fell at noon was not just an absent sun, but a cosmic battlefield, veiled from human eyes? You know the story, the cross, the nails, the crown of thorns. But I tell you, you have never heard it told like this, because hovering just beyond the sight of mortals, two celestial titans stood watch, Michael, heaven's unyielding defender, and Uriel, the living flame of God's deepest secrets. They were not mere spectators, they were active, waiting for a command that would echo through eternity. We are about to pull back the veil on Calvary. We will journey into the spiritual war that raged as the King of Glory breathed his last. So I ask you, why did the earth itself convulse? What cosmic transaction was finalized when the soldier's spear found its mark? And what sacred duty did Michael and Uriel perform in that fateful hour? Stay with me, because by the time we are finished, your understanding of the cross of spiritual warfare and of Christ's ultimate victory will be forever transformed. But before we uncover this hidden truth, if you're on a quest for deeper knowledge like this, please help this community grow by hitting that like button, subscribing and ringing the notification bell so you never miss a journey into the unknown. And let me know where in the world you're watching from in the comments. It's amazing to see our global family of truth seekers expanding. Now, keep watching, because what you're about to discover doesn't just add a new character to the story, it completely rewrites the origin of humanity and the divine feminine. The twist we uncover at the end will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The unseen battlefield of Golgotha. We see the cross through human history, a brutal execution on a barren hill. We see the Romans, the crowd, the anguish, but this is merely the surface, the fleshly reality. What if you could perceive the spiritual dimension? What if you could witness the war that was being waged in the heavens, directly above that place of the skull? The scripture records that at the 6th hour, darkness covered the land. This was no ordinary eclipse. This was a supernatural shroud, a 3-hour midnight at noon. But this darkness was more than the absence of light. It was the presence of a profound spiritual conflict. In the realm parallel to our own, the air was thick with a divine tension. The angelic choirs were silent. No hymns were sung. The heavens held their breath. For in the shadows, the ancient serpent, Lucifer, the fallen star of the morning, watched from his domain. He believed this was his triumph. This was the culmination of his schemes since the garden, the moment to thwart the prophecy that the seed of the woman would crush his head. Here hung that seed, seemingly broken and defeated, but he was not the only watcher. Positioned at the very boundary between the eternal and the temporal were two pillars of celestial might. On one side, Michael, the Archangel of divine war. His form was a vision of terrifying glory, clad not in polished gold, but in armor forged from primordial fire. His sword, alive with power, was inscribed with the sacred names of the Almighty. His wings, vast and shimmering, were like nebulae wreathed in lightning. And beside him Uriel, the fire of God. His being radiated the incandescent light of the sun, his eyes blazing with unutterable knowledge. Though seldom named in canonical texts, ancient wisdom knows him as the keeper of prophecy, the revealer of mysteries, the guardian of the sacred timeline. Together, they had stood sentinel over the ages of God's redemptive plan. And now, they witnessed the unthinkable, their creator surrendering to death. The ground trembled physically, but the spirit realm was in upheaval. As Jesus bore the colossal weight of humanity's sin, a shift occurred in the unseen. Legions of demons who had gathered to revel in the moment began to recoil in confusion and dread. This was not following their script. Where was the resistance? Where was the divine retaliation? The Lamb was going willingly to the slaughter, and that is what truly terrified the forces of hell. For they understand a fundamental truth that many of us forget. Power restrained is a far greater mystery and a far greater terror than power unleashed. Christ possessed the authority to call down 12 legions of angels. With a single word, he could have unmade Golgotha and all who stood upon it, yet he did not. And in the spiritual realm, that divine restraint created a silence more deafening than any war cry. Michael the warrior stood poised, every fiber of his celestial being straining against an invisible chain, awaiting a command that had not yet come. Uriel the seer remained immovable, his gaze fixed not on the suffering, but on the divine purpose unfolding within it. For they knew a secret, hidden from the foundations of the world. They knew what was coming. Before the cosmos was spoken into being, there existed a scroll, the divine manuscript of redemption, sealed with 7 seals. Within it was written every prophecy, every appointed moment, every step of the path to mankind's salvation. And at this very hour that scroll was being unrolled. Jesus was not dying because he was defeated. He was dying because he was fulfilling the ultimate victory. To win this war, he had to descend lower than death itself, to enter the heart of darkness and to shatter it from within. Uriel comprehended this in his spirit. Michael felt it resonate in his very essence. Yet, even with this knowledge, they experienced a profound helplessness, a divine agony. They could not move unless heaven commanded it. And then the moment came, when Jesus cried out, "Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani," my God, why have you forsaken me?" The words did not merely echo across the hill. They tore through the fabric of dimensions, reverberating through the celestial realms like a thunderclap in a silent universe. This was not a cry of despair, it was a declaration, it was a summons. And in that instant, Michael turned his gaze to Uriel. No words were exchanged, but a profound understanding passed between them. Reverence filled the space. For from the blood-stained tree, the dying king issued an invisible command, an order that would alter the destiny of all creation. Chapter 2. The Whispered Command and the Cosmic Guard. No heavenly trumpet blared, no bolt of lightning split the sky, yet every power and principality, every throne in the heavenly realms, and every demon cowering in the shadows of the cross perceived it. A divine whisper, moving not through air but through spirit, a direct transmission from the soul of the dying Christ to the Archangels standing watch. The command was simple, yet it carried the weight of eternity. Hold the line, guard what is mine. To our ears it may sound simple, but when this decree emanated from the eternal Son, crowned with thorns and drenched in sacrifice, it activated the very machinery of heaven. Jesus hung suspended between 2 realms, his body broken in the natural world, his spirit descending into the realm of the dead, yet his divine authority absolute and unchallenged. And Michael, heaven's general, snapped into formation. This was the archangel who had contended with the devil over the body of Moses. This was the commander who would one day lead the armies of heaven against the dragon in Revelation. And here at the cross, his assignment was not to attack, but to protect. He stood in a realm just above the physical, his fiery sword drawn not for slaughter, but for enforcement. He was not guarding a nation, he was guarding a single sacred cosmic event. He was there to secure the great exchange. As Jesus absorbed the sin of the world, it was not merely a spiritual burden. It was a legal transaction of incomprehensible scale. Every curse, every failure, every debt of humanity was being placed upon him. Hell had gathered to witness this transfer, hoping to exploit a legal loophole, to lay claim to what was not rightfully theirs. Michael's presence was the divine guarantee. He was the unbreachable wall between the dying lamb and the demonic accusers. He ensured that no spirit of deception could interfere, no power of darkness could alter the covenant being ratified in the blood of the Son of God. He was forbidden from intervening in the physical agony, but in the spiritual realm he was an immovable, unconquerable force. But what of Uriel? He is not the angel of war. He is the flame of revelation. Where Michael enforces with strength, Uriel illuminates with truth. And at the cross, Uriel's role was equally critical, for in that moment, the light of the world was becoming sin. The source of all purity was submerged in the totality of our filth. Uriel, blazing with the fire of God's mysteries, stood as the guardian of this terrible, glorious paradox. His purpose was to ensure that the meaning of this act would not be lost, that its resonance would ripple across time and space. As the blood of Christ dripped onto the soil of Golgotha, Uriel released a wave of divine illumination. a spiritual frequency that would one day awaken the heart of Saul on the road to Damascus, inspire the authors of the Gospels, and bring revelation to believers in ages yet unborn. He was broadcasting the truth of the cross into the very fabric of human history. Now consider the moment Jesus breathed his last. The earth shook, and in the temple, the massive veil was torn in two from top to bottom. This was not merely cloth ripping. That veil represented the ultimate separation, the chasm between a holy God and sinful humanity. For generations, it was guarded not just by priests, but by celestial decree. And in that very instant, Michael and Uriel stood down, not in defeat, but in glorious obedient surrender. Their guard duty was over. The Lamb had now become the bridge. The separation was destroyed forever. Uriel released one final purifying burst of holy fire into the spiritual atmosphere, and somewhere in the realms of glory, a sword was silently sheathed. The war for the cosmos was not yet over, but the battle for humanity's access to God had been decisively won. Pause and consider the magnitude of this. What does it mean that Jesus, in his deepest agony, was issuing spiritual commands? What does it mean that Michael and Uriel were actively enforcing a heavenly strategy while the world below saw only defeat? It means this: even when your circumstances scream of failure, when the enemy surrounds you and your strength fails, God is commanding angels on your behalf. Your life may feel like it is crumbling. Your prayers may seem to hit a brass heaven, but in the spirit, there is furious divine activity. Heaven does not move according to human sight. It moves according to God's unshakable word. And sometimes, the most powerful decrees are whispered through the silence of suffering. Chapter 3. The Descent and the Divine Jailbreak. Jesus was dead. His body hung lifeless. The crowd began to disperse. But while human history saw an end, the true mission was plunging into its most critical phase. For the sinless Son of God was now descending into the realm of the dead, Sheol. This was not a metaphor. It was a spiritual and literal reality. And he did not go alone. Michael and Uriel followed in his wake, not to protect him, for he was now the omnipotent conqueror in spirit, but to bear witness to the event that would shatter the chains of death forever. What is Sheol? It is not the hellfire of popular imagination. In the ancient Hebrew worldview, Sheol was the shadowy abode of the dead, a holding place with two compartments, one of comfort for the righteous, Abraham's bosom, and one of torment for the wicked, separated by a great, uncrossable chasm. Jesus entered this domain not as a captive soul, but as the Lord of hosts. He carried the physical scars of his sacrifice and the legal weight of all human sin, yet his divine authority was utterly intact. The moment his spirit crossed the threshold, the entire underworld shuddered. The fallen watchers, the chained titans of old, the ancient rebellious spirits, all felt a primordial fear. A foreign presence, blazing with holy authority, was marching through their prison. Lucifer, who had moments before thought himself victorious, now felt his very kingdom being invaded from within. Without a single soldier, without a sound, the King of Glory was storming the gates of hell. And his procession was illuminated by the terrifying glory of his archangels, Michael, a silent, furious pillar of warlight, and Uriel, a walking sun, casting the light of divine truth into the deepest shadows. The Psalms prophesied this very scene. Lift up your heads, O you gates. Be lifted up, you ancient doors, that the King of Glory may come in. Psalm 24:7. Imagine it. Jesus approaches the most ancient gates of captivity, portals forged in rebellion at the dawn of time. He does not request entry. He speaks a single word of command: open. And the gates begin to groan and splinter, not from physical force, but from the breaking of legal chains that had held humanity captive since the fall. This was Michael's moment to enforce. Jesus was not there to plead or bargain. He was there to seize. The keys to death, to Hades, to every prison of the soul, they were his by right of conquest. Michael stood as the cosmic witness, his sword representing the full weight of heaven's legal authority, declaring to every spiritual power that this transfer was lawful, righteous, and absolute. While Michael enforced, Uriel performed his sacred duty. He carried with him the sealed mysteries of God, truths hidden for ages. And as Jesus descended, Uriel began to unseal them in the spirit realm. The mysteries that prophets like Isaiah and Daniel had yearned to understand were now revealed in the heart of darkness itself. Uriel unfurled a scroll of pure light, and the full meaning of the cross flooded the underworld. The righteous souls waiting in Abraham's bosom, Abraham, Moses, David, Elijah, saw the fulfillment of every promise. They saw the Lamb who was slain. They saw the light of the world, and in that light they were glorified. This was not a quiet descent. It was the most glorious jailbreak in history. Finally, in the deepest abyss of death, Jesus stretched forth his hand, and there in the spiritual realm the ultimate prize materialized. The keys of death and Hades, forged not in any earthly fire, but etched with the authority of eternity itself. Lucifer was powerless to stop it. No demon dared to utter a word. And as Jesus took hold of those keys, he turned to Michael and Uriel, and with a voice that resonated with the power of resurrection, he spoke 3 words that would redefine existence. Time to rise. Understand this, the resurrection did not begin at the garden tomb. It began in the belly of Sheol. It commenced the moment death itself was forced to bow its knee. It started when chains turned to dust, and forgotten souls were awakened by the light of Uriel's fire. Jesus did not sneak out of the grave. He conquered death from the inside out, leading a host of captives in a triumphant procession into glory. When he rose on the 3rd day, it was the physical manifestation of a victory already won in the spiritual depths. So now you see the full picture. When Jesus was nailed to the cross, he was not abandoned. In his seeming weakness was the apex of divine strength. He was commanding archangels in the silence, issuing decrees from the depths of agony, and overthrowing the kingdom of darkness with nothing but his obedience and his blood. Michael stood guard, not over a defeat, but over the most profound transfer of power in cosmic history. Uriel blazed with revelation, ensuring that no layer of this mystery would remain hidden. And while humanity wept and Rome mocked, heaven stood at attention. For the moment, Jesus uttered, "It is finished." Michael raised his sword not in battle, but in salute. Uriel sealed the scroll of this fulfilled mystery, and eternity itself pivoted on its axis. What does this mean for you? It means you are never fighting your battles alone. It means that in your darkest hour, when your body is weary, your mind is clouded, and your faith feels silent, heaven is moving on your behalf. Angels are on assignment. A divine plan is unfolding, and there is immense, unconquerable power in your faithful endurance, just as there was in his. So I ask you once more, what truly happened on that cross? Why the darkness? Why the torn veil? Why were 2 majestic archangels silently presiding over such a brutal scene? Because it was not merely a death, it was a divine stratagem. It was a sovereign sacrifice, carried out with precise heavenly orders. It was the king, laying down his life not just to die, but to reclaim everything that was lost. Michael knew it, Uriel witnessed it, and now you have seen it too. Now I want to hear from you. Which moment resonated most deeply within your spirit? Was it the unseen war over Calvary, the divine whisper that commanded the heavens, or the glorious, terrifying descent into Sheol that shattered death's chains? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't just watch, join the revelation. And if this journey behind the veil has opened your eyes, then share this video, give it a like, and subscribe to this channel. For what we will uncover next, you will not believe.